He took my college fund on Friday by Sunday. I was wearing a wire. The notification lit up my phone at 2:37 a.m., right after my shift at the warehouse. My aunt had sent the wrong video to the wrong person, but that mistake saved my life. There was Dale, my stepfather, raising his beer at dinner, bragging about his new shop equipment. Finally got the capital sorted. He laughed. That sandpaper laugh I knew too well. That girl owes me anyway, been feeding her since she was 12. My stomach dropped. I knew exactly where that capital came from. My name is Ava Caldwell, and I've been working nights at Harborline Logistics for 3 years, saving every penny I could scrape together. That video changed everything. I sat in my car outside the warehouse, replaying it 4 times. The fluorescent security lights flickered overhead, casting shadows that matched the growing darkness in my chest. Dale's voice grew louder with each viewing, his thick fingers wrapped around that Coors Light. My mother Nora nodding along like she always did. Tyler, my half-brother, laughing at something on his phone, oblivious to the confession happening 3 feet away. My hands shook as I opened my banking app. The education savings account my father had set up before he died, the one thing he'd left me that Dale couldn't touch. Or so I thought. Balance 0.0. Last transaction 6 months ago. The parking lot spun. $84,700. Gone. I drove straight to my apartment, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. The login history showed everything withdrawals starting small, 500 here, 1,000 there, then massive chunks, 15,000, 20,000. The authorization signatures were mine, except they weren't. Dale had gotten good at forgery over the years, but apparently not good enough to worry about getting caught. By 6 I was at his garage. The new hydraulic lift gleamed in the dawn light. My tuition money transformed into steel and grease. Dale emerged from the office, wiping his hands on a rag that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. "What the hell are you doing here? My college fund?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. $84,000. His face shifted, that practiced confusion he'd perfected over 15 years. "Don't know what you're talking about." "I have the bank records, the forged signatures, the backhand came fast. I should have expected it. Dale always led with his right when cornered. My cheekbone met the concrete floor with a crack that echoed through the garage. The taste of copper flooded my mouth. "You ungrateful little bitch." He stood over me, work boot inches from my face. "After everything I've done for you." I pulled myself up, my vision swimming. Blood dripped onto my warehouse uniform. "You mean stealing from me?" The second hit was a closed fist. This time I stayed down, my phone somehow in my hand, 911 already dialing. The operator's voice sounded far away as I gave the address, described the assault, mentioned the theft. Dale's boots paced back and forth, his muttering growing louder about teaching me respect, about knowing my place. The sirens arrived in 12 minutes. Brianna got there in 8. I'd managed to text her between heaving breaths. Her ER experience kicked in immediately, checking my pupils, stabilizing my neck, documenting everything with her phone camera. "Jesus Christ, Ava!" She held ice from Dale's own freezer against my face while the cops took statements. "Your cheekbone might be fractured." The young officer badge reading Kowalski crouched beside me. "We can arrest him for assault. You'll need to come to the station for the full report. And the theft, that's more complicated. You'll need documentation, proof of forgery. Financial Crimes Unit handles that." Dale watched from beside his squad car, hands cuffed behind his back, that smirk still playing on his lips. He thought this was over. A night in jail, maybe probation, back to normal by Monday. He had no idea what was coming. At Riverton General, the x-rays confirmed a hairline fracture in my zygomatic bone. The nurse photographed every bruise, every cut, from multiple angles. The harsh hospital lighting turned my injuries into evidence. Brianna held my hand as they documented the swelling, the split lip, the bruising already spreading like watercolor across my jaw. "I'm getting it all back," I told her, my words slurred from the swelling. "Every penny, And I'm going to destroy him. She squeezed my hand. I know you will. The emergency protective order was granted at 3:48 Sunday morning. Dale couldn't come within 500 feet of me. It was a start, but nowhere near enough. I sat in that hospital bed, ice pack pressed against my face, and planned his complete annihilation. Not just financial, not just legal. I wanted everyone in Riverton to know exactly who Dale Mercer was, and I wanted him to watch it happen. The manipulation started when I was 13, the day after Mom married Dale at the Riverton courthouse. I remember the smell of his cigarettes mixing with Mom's vanilla perfume as they signed the papers. Tyler was 7 then, all gap-toothed smiles, thrilled to finally have a real dad. Dale established the hierarchy immediately. Tyler got baseball gloves, video games, driving lessons at 14 in the garage parking lot. I got lectures about gratitude, about how expensive teenage girls were, about being another mouth to feed. When I made honor roll, he'd grunt. When Tyler got a C-, Dale would ruffle his hair and say, "Real men don't need book smarts." "Your father's life insurance should go toward the household," Dale announced one dinner when I was 15. Mom's hands stilled over her plate of meatloaf. "We're a family now." "That's Ava's college money," Mom said quietly, her first and last attempt at defending my father's wishes. Dale's fork scraped against his plate. "And who's paying for her food? Her clothes, the roof over her head." He pointed the fork at me. "That money's earning nothing sitting in some account. We've got bills now." Mom's resistance crumbled like it always did. "Maybe we could use just a small portion." "It's protected," I cut in. "Dad set it up as an education trust. You can't touch it until I'm 18, and only for qualified education expenses." Dale's jaw tightened. That night, I heard him through the walls, voice low and insistent, wearing Mom down. Within a month, she was suggesting I consider community college. Just for the first 2 years. Honey, save money. Help the family. By 17, the suggestions became demands. "You're selfish," Dale would say, watching me fill out university applications. "Your mother works 2 jobs while you sit here dreaming about some fancy degree." The psychological warfare was precise. He'd leave college brochures for trade schools on my bed. Tell extended family I was too good for them now that I was college-bound. Made jokes at family barbecues about kids who bankrupted their parents for useless degrees. "Real families help each other," he'd say when Mom's car needed repairs. "But Princess Ava's got her special fund." I started working at 16, every dollar going into my own savings account. Dale found out and convinced Mom I should contribute to household expenses. "Teaching her responsibility," he called it. Half my paycheck disappeared into their joint account every 2 weeks. Tyler absorbed Dale's philosophy completely. Why does she get Dad's money when she's not even his real kid anymore?" He asked one Christmas, parroting words that definitely weren't his own. Dale had been planting seeds, turning my half-brother against me drop by poison drop. The gaslighting intensified senior year. Mom would mention financial difficulties whenever college came up. Dale had supposedly hurt his back, couldn't work full hours. The mortgage was behind. Tyler needed braces. Each crisis carefully timed around application deadlines, acceptance letters, enrollment deposits. "Maybe take a gap year," Mom suggested, her eyes not meeting mine. "Just until things stabilize." I knew then they were planning something with my fund. Dale had been asking peculiar questions, Social Security number for tax purposes, birth certificate for insurance updates. Mom had him listed as a financial contact at her bank, giving him proximity to information he shouldn't have. The week before graduation, Dale's demeanor shifted. The complaints about money stopped. He was almost cheerful, humming in the garage, bringing home takeout instead of demanding Mom cook after her shifts. He'd found a way in. I just didn't know it yet. "You should be grateful," he said that final family dinner before I moved out for freshman year. "Not many kids get what you got." The irony of those words would hit differently later. He was right. Not many kids got to watch their dead father's legacy transformed into hydraulic lifts and socket wrenches, their future sold off piece by piece to feed a stepfather's ego and a mother's weakness. But Dale had made one crucial mistake in his careful psychological campaign. He'd taught me exactly who he was. Every manipulation, every tactic, every weakness. He'd shown me how to hurt someone systematically, thoroughly, completely. He just never thought I'd been taking notes. The bruises on my face would fade in weeks. The theft would be recovered eventually. But the 15 years of psychological warfare that had forged something Dale never anticipated. He'd created his own destroyer, trained her in his methods, and then handed her all the ammunition she'd need. Monday morning, 9:15 a.m. I sat across from Quinn Hale in her law office, my face a constellation of purple and yellow bruises. She'd come recommended by Brianna's cousin, a former prosecutor who'd switched to private practice after dismantling a major embezzlement ring. "Ohio's a one-party consent state," Quinn said, sliding a recording app across her desk. "That means you can legally record any conversation you're part of without informing the other party." My fingers traced the edge of my phone. "He won't admit anything easily." "They always do when they think they've won." Quinn's smile was sharp. "Men like Dale can't resist gloating. We just need to give him the opportunity." The first stop was Maple Ridge Credit Union. The branch manager, a woman named Patricia with kind eyes, went pale when she saw the authorization forms Dale had submitted. "This signature?" She pulled up my original account documents on her screen. "They don't match at all." "I need everything," I said. "Login records, IP addresses, security footage if you have it, copies of every forged document." Patricia's fingers flew across her keyboard. The withdrawals came from a computer with an IP address registered to... She squinted at the screen. A residential address on Oakwood Drive. Dale's house. My mother's house. The transfers went to a joint account under Dale and Nora Mercer. Patricia continued, printing page after page. "From there. It gets complicated. Multiple transfers to Riverton Automotive Supply, First National Bank loan payments, private party transactions." Each page was another nail. Quinn organized them into neat piles evidence for the criminal case, the civil suit, the federal charges for interstate wire fraud since some vendors were out of state. "We're filing 3 simultaneous actions," Quinn explained as we sat in her office that afternoon. "Criminal charges for theft, forgery, and assault, a civil suit for conversion and punitive damages, and an emergency injunction to freeze his assets before he can move anything else." "How long will it take?" "The criminal charges are already in motion from Saturday night's arrest. The injunction we can file today. But Ava..." She leaned forward. "We need him to admit to taking the money. The forgery is clear, but a confession would seal everything." That's when I remembered Dale's Achilles heel, his pride. He couldn't resist explaining how clever he was, especially when he'd had a few beers, and Ohio's recording laws would make that hubris admissible in court. I spent the next 3 days preparing with Quinn. She coached me through scenarios, trigger phrases, ways to guide the conversation without entrapment. We studied Dale's patterns. He was most vulnerable on Thursday evenings after his bowling league, usually 3 or 4 beers in by 9:30 p.m. "Don't be aggressive," Quinn instructed. "Be defeated. Let him think you're begging. His ego will do the rest." Maya Ortiz joined our team Wednesday afternoon, a forensic accountant who specialized in asset recovery. She traced every dollar with the precision of a surgeon. "Your $84,700 became 3 payments to Riverton Automotive." She showed me on her laptop. $25,000 for hydraulic lifts, $18,000 for diagnostic equipment, $15,000 for tools. The rest went to his truck loan and a down payment on the garage expansion. "Can we recover it?" "Every penny," Maya said. "The equipment is titled in his name, purchased with stolen funds. That's recoverable. The loan payments we can claim as unjust enrichment. The expansion hasn't started yet, so that deposit is still in escrow." By Thursday, we had built an airtight case. The criminal charges were filed, the civil suit was ready, the injunction was prepared. All we needed was Dale's confession. I sat in my apartment that evening, the recording app ready, Quinn on standby via text. My face still ached, but the swelling had gone down enough that I could speak clearly. I stared at Dale's contact in my phone, took a breath that hurt my bruised ribs, and dialed. The phone rang twice before he picked up. What? His voice was already slurred. Perfect. Dale. I kept my voice small, broken. We need to talk about the money. I could hear his satisfied exhale, could picture him leaning back in his recliner, confident he'd already won. He had no idea he was about to hand me everything I needed to destroy him. The trap was set. Now I just needed him to walk into it. Maya's forensic analysis was a masterpiece of financial destruction. She'd created a timeline that would make Dale's theft impossible to deny, every transaction mapped, every lie exposed. Look at this. She pointed to her screen Friday morning, her office coffee growing cold as we worked. January 15th. He withdrew $15,000. January 16th. Riverton Automotive received a payment for exactly $15,000 from D. Mercer Automotive. Same pattern, 6 times over. The paper trail was damning. Each page showed my money's journey from education fund to Dale's pockets. Maya had even found the business license application for his garage expansion filed 2 days after the largest withdrawal. He wasn't even smart about it, she said, highlighting transfer after transfer. Direct deposits, his name on everything. It's like he thought he was untouchable. I photographed every document with my phone, building a digital arsenal. Quinn wanted physical copies for court, but I had different plans for these. The Riverton Mechanics Association's annual BBQ was coming up in 8 days, Dale's favorite event where he played the successful businessman, the family man, the provider. I need this in presentation format, I told Maya. Something visual, something that can be understood in seconds. She raised an eyebrow. Planning something. Dale loves an audience. That afternoon, I drove past Dale's garage. The new equipment sat pristine in the bay. My father's legacy transformed into Dale's monument to himself. I took photos from across the street, the lifts, the diagnostic computers, the LED sign announcing, under new management D, Mercer, Master Mechanic. Master Thief was more accurate. Brianna helped me create the presentation that weekend. 8 pages that told the story, simply page 1. My father's death certificate and the trust fund establishment. Page 2. The original balance statement from 6 months ago, $84,700. Page 3. The forged authorization forms. Page 4 through 6. The withdrawals mapped against Dale's purchases. Page 7. Photos of my bruised face from the hospital. Page 8. The arrest report. This is brutal, Brianna said as we printed copies at her apartment. He won't recover from this. That's the point. I learned Dale had been bragging at the bowling alley about his expansion plans. Finally making real money. He'd told anyone who'd listen. Not like those college kids with their worthless degrees. The irony was perfect. He'd stolen college money to prove college was worthless, never realizing the education he'd tried to prevent had taught me exactly how to destroy him. Sunday night, I visited 3 key people in Riverton's mechanic community. Jim Torres, who ran the largest garage in town. Sandra Wright, who organized the BBQ every year. Marcus Holloway, whose opinion carried weight with every blue-collar worker in the county. I just want you to know the truth, I said to each, leaving them with copies of the timeline. Before you hear Dale's version. Jim's face darkened as he read. This is your college money. Every penny my father left me. Sandra covered her mouth at the hospital photos. He did this to you. When I asked for my money back. Marcus said nothing, just studied the forged signatures with the eye of someone who'd seen plenty of documentation in his 40 years of business. Finally, he looked up. You pressing charges, criminal and civil, but I wanted his community to know first. Word would spread now. By the BBQ, everyone would be watching, waiting. Dale would walk into that event thinking he was among friends, never knowing they'd already seen the evidence. I had the sheriff's department on standby for the BBQ. Deputy Kowalski, who'd taken my initial statement, promised to be nearby. In case things escalate, he said when I told him my plans. The presentation was loaded onto a USB drive, compatible with the portable screen Sandra used for the BBQ's annual slideshow. I'd practiced the timing wait until Dale's speech about supporting local businesses, then override the feel-good slideshow with the truth. My phone buzzed with a text from Quinn. Deposition scheduled for Tuesday, civil hearing Friday, criminal trial next month. The legal machinery was in motion, but that would take time. The social destruction would happen in 6 days. Dale had built his reputation on being a straight-talking, hard-working family man. That image would shatter in front of everyone who mattered to him. I touched my still tender cheekbone. The bruise had faded to yellow-green, but the fracture still ached when I smiled. Good. The pain would keep me focused. Dale Mercer had taken more than money. He'd taken my security, my future, my father's final gift. But he'd made one fatal error. He'd gotten comfortable. And comfortable men don't see the knife coming until it's already between their ribs. Thursday evening, 9:43 p.m. I sat in my car outside my apartment, phone in hand, recording app running. My hands were steady now. 3 deep breaths. Then I dialed Dale's number. What now? His voice was thick with beer, exactly as planned. Dale, I need to talk about the money. Please. Already told you. Don't know what you're talking about. I let my voice crack. I saw the bank records. I know you took it. I need to understand why. Silence. Then a laugh. Harsh and satisfied. You need to understand. Princess Ava needs to understand. Please. Mom won't talk to me. Tyler won't answer my calls. I just want to fix this. Fix this. His voice rose. You called the cops on me. You got me arrested. You hit me. I gave you a reality check. About time someone did. I forced myself to sound defeated, broken. If I drop the charges, will you return the money? I'll tell them I was confused, that it was a misunderstanding. Another laugh. That money, Jesus, you really are stupid. That money's been gone for months, invested, in actual useful things, not some fantasy degree. My heart pounded. Invested in what? My business, my future. Something that actually provides for this family instead of draining it. That was my education fund, my father. Your father's dead. Dale cut in. Has been for 15 years. I'm the one who kept a roof over your head, food in your belly, that money. Consider it back rent. You can't just take... I didn't take anything. Your mother agreed. Joint finances, joint decisions. She signed off on everything. She didn't know. She knew enough. Knew we needed that money more than you needed 4 years of partying on someone else's dime. I gripped the phone tighter. The signatures were forged. You forged my name. Prove it. His confidence was absolute. You think anyone's gonna believe you over us? Your own mother, some ungrateful kid who abandoned her family versus the man who's been providing for 16 years. You hit me. There's a police report. You came at me in my own garage, screaming about money. I defended myself. Any man would have done the same. Defended yourself? I have a fractured cheekbone. Yeah. Well, maybe next time you'll think twice before getting in a man's face about business you don't understand. Keep him talking. The bank has records, IP addresses, the forensic accountant. The bank don't care as long as the paperwork's filed. And that accountant of yours, she can trace whatever she wants. Your mother's name is on everything. Joint account, joint decisions. Even if they believed you about the signatures, you think your mother's going to testify against me, against Tyler's father. Tyler's not your son. I'm the only father he knows. And unlike you, he's grateful for it. Because you poisoned him against me. Because I taught him to be a man instead of a leech. That boy's got a future in the trades, real work, not some liberal arts bullshit. With my money paying for it, Dale's voice turned smug. That equipment in my shop, that's gonna train Tyler and a dozen other boys to actually contribute to society. Your daddy's money is finally doing some good instead of sitting in an account waiting to be wasted. It was $84,000. $84,700, Dale corrected. Every penny accounted for. New lifts, diagnostic systems, tools that'll last 20 years. That's an investment. Your sociology degree or whatever. That's just expensive toilet paper. I was studying engineering. Even worse, you think you're better than us, smarter than us. But here's the truth. Princess, I outsmarted you. Took that money right under your nose, used it to build something real, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'll take you to court. With what money you think lawyers work for free? You think you can fight me and your mother? She'll testify that she authorized everything. And who's a judge gonna believe a hysterical girl who attacked her stepfather or a married couple managing their family finances? You hit me. I have medical records. One push. After you came at me screaming. Self-defense. Besides, that restraining order you got temporary. My lawyer says it'll be dropped once the judge hears the whole story. What story is that? Ungrateful daughter, mental health issues, history of lying. Your mother's prepared to testify about your behavioral problems, how you've always resented our marriage, made up stories for attention. My blood ran cold. She wouldn't. She'll do whatever I tell her, just like always. And by the time this is over, you'll be the one looking crazy. Maybe even owe me damages for defamation. You won't get away with this. Already have, Princess. That money's gone, invested, protected. And you're about to learn what happens when you bite the hand that fed you. The line went dead. I stopped the recording, saved it in 3 places, and sent it immediately to Quinn with the subject line, "Got him." Dale had just confessed to everything: the theft, the forgery, the assault, the conspiracy with my mother. His arrogance had been his downfall, exactly as Quinn predicted. He thought he'd won. In 4 days, at the BBQ, he'd learned differently. Saturday afternoon, 2:15 p.m., the Riverton Mechanics Association BBQ was in full swing at Riverside Park. The smell of charcoal and beer mixed with motor oil, most of the guys came straight from their shops. Dale held court near the main pavilion, a Budweiser in hand, Tyler beside him wearing a matching Mercer Automotive t-shirt. I watched from my car as my mother arrived, her nervous energy visible even from 50 yards away. My aunt had done her job, convinced Mom that I wanted to reconcile, that I'd be willing to drop everything if we could just talk at a neutral location. The USB drive weighed nothing in my pocket, but it felt like carrying a bomb. Sandra Wright had already confirmed the AV system was ready. The projection screen faced the main seating area where about 60 people were gathered, waiting for the annual speeches and awards. I stepped out of my car at 2:35 p., timing it perfectly. Dale was 3 beers in, his voice carrying across the pavilion as he explained his expansion plans to Jim Torres, who nodded politely while his eyes tracked my approach. Ava. Mom stood quickly, her paper plate trembling. Honey, I'm so glad you came. Sit down, Mom. I kept walking toward the AV table. You'll want to be seated for this. Dale noticed me then. His face flushed red, finger pointing. You can't be here. Restraining order. Is 500 feet. I finished. I measured. I'm at 503. The crowd quieted. Sandra stood at the microphone for the afternoon program. Before we get to the awards, Dale Mercer wanted to say a few words about supporting local business. Dale strutted to the microphone, confidence restored by home turf advantage. Thanks, Sandra. You know, people talk about the economy, about hard times, but I'm proof that with hard work and smart investment, a man can still build something real in this country. I inserted the USB drive. My finger hovered over the remote Sandra had left on the table. 6 months ago, I made a decision. Dale continued. Invest in the future. Not some pipe dream college nonsense, but real equipment, real training for real workers. Click. The first slide filled the screen behind him. My father's death certificate, the trust fund documents, $84,700 designated for my education. Dale turned, confused. What the click? The forged authorization forms, my signature clearly different from the fake ones. "That's my college fund," I said, my voice carrying without the microphone. "The one Dale stole." The crowd murmured. Dale stepped toward me, but Jim Torres stood up, creating a barrier. Click. The withdrawal records mapped against his purchases. Each transaction highlighted. Every penny traced. I continued. From my education fund to his garage. "This is bullshit." Dale's face went purple. "Nora, tell them." Mom sat frozen, staring at the screen showing her name on the joint account that received my money. Click. The photos from the hospital. My bruised face. The fractured cheekbone x-ray. When I confronted him, he did this. The crowd's murmur turned to angry muttering. Several wives pulled their husbands back from approaching Dale. Click. The arrest report. But I wasn't done. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the Bluetooth speaker. Yesterday, Dale explained everything. His recorded voice filled the pavilion. That money's been gone for months, invested, in actual useful things, not some fantasy degree. Then, I outsmarted you, took that money right under your nose. And finally, one push, after you came at me screaming, self-defense. The confession played to dead silence except for Dale's increasingly frantic breathing. "You little bitch." He lunged toward me. 3 men intercepted him. Jim Torres, Marcus Holloway, and Sandra's husband, Frank. They held Dale as he thrashed, spittle flying from his mouth. "You set me up. This is entrapment, Nora. Tell them." Mom stood slowly, her face pale. "You said it was a loan. You said Ava agreed." "Shut up, woman." That's when Deputy Kowalski walked up, having been parked nearby as planned. "Mr. Mercer, we need to talk about violating that restraining order. You just attempted to assault the victim in front of 60 witnesses." "I didn't. She's lying." "We all saw it," Jim Torres said firmly. "She was standing right there, legal distance, and you went after her." Marcus Holloway added, "We also heard that recording. Sounds like confession to theft and assault to me." The deputy cuffed Dale while reciting his rights. The entire Riverton Mechanics Association watched their colleague get arrested at their own BBQ, my presentation still frozen on the screen, showing his arrest report from the previous week. "This isn't over," Dale shouted as Kowalski led him away. "I'll sue you for everything, Nora. Get my lawyer." Mom looked at me, tears streaming. "Ava, I didn't know. He said you abandoned us, that you owed us." "You knew enough to let him forge my signature, to take Dad's money." "I thought he said it was for the family." "It was for his ego." "And you chose him over me. Again." Tyler stood by the pavilion, his Mercer automotive shirt suddenly looking like a prison uniform. "Ava, You laughed. I cut him off. At family dinner, when he joked about me owing him. You laughed." I gathered my things as the crowd dispersed, voices rising in shocked discussion. Sandra Wright approached, handing me the USB drive. "That was brave," she said quietly. "Your father would be proud." As I walked back to my car, I could hear fragments of conversation. "Can't believe Dale would. That poor girl. Always thought something was off." The social destruction was complete. By tomorrow, every mechanic, every client, every person in Dale's professional circle would know he was a thief who beat his stepdaughter. His reputation, built over years, had crumbled in less than 10 minutes. But this was just the beginning. Court was Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. The Riverton County Courthouse smelled like old wood and fresh floor wax. I sat beside Quinn at the plaintiff's table, Maya on my other side with boxes of evidence. Across the aisle, Dale slouched in a wrinkled shirt his lawyer had probably told him to look humble. Too late for that. Judge Patricia Hernandez reviewed the emergency motions, her reading glasses perched on her nose. The courtroom was packed, word traveled fast in Riverton, and half the Mechanics Association had shown up to watch. "We're here for multiple matters," Judge Hernandez began. "The protective order hearing, preliminary criminal proceedings, and emergency civil asset protection. Mr. Mercer, you're facing charges of assault, theft by deception, and forgery. How do you plead? Dale's public defender, a tired-looking man named Garrett, stood, not guilty on all charges, Your Honor. Let's start with the protective order, Ms. Caldwell. Quinn rose smoothly. Your Honor, we have medical documentation of assault resulting in a fractured cheekbone. We have 60 witnesses who saw Mr. Mercer attempt another assault 2 days ago at a public event, despite an existing emergency order. She played the recording. Dale's voice filled the courtroom. One push, after you came at me screaming. Then the part about taking my money. I outsmarted you, took that money right under your nose. Judge Hernandez's expression darkened with each word. Mr. Garrett, my client was intoxicated during that call. His words were taken out of context. The context seems clear. The judge interrupted. Mr. Mercer admitted to assault and theft. The protective order is extended for 1 year. Mr. Mercer, you are to stay 500 feet away from Miss Caldwell at all times. Round 1 to us. Now, regarding the criminal charges. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Angela Foster, stood. Based on new evidence including Mr. Mercer's recorded confession, the state is adding charges of fraud and conspiracy. We're requesting immediate asset freezing to prevent disposal of stolen goods. Objection! Garrett scrambled. Those assets are legitimately purchased business equipment, purchased with stolen funds, Foster countered, showing the transaction records Maya had compiled. Every dollar traced from Ms. Caldwell's education trust to Mr. Mercer's accounts to equipment purchases. Judge Hernandez studied the papers. The asset freeze is granted. Mr. Mercer, all accounts and property purchased within the last 6 months are hereby frozen pending investigation. Dale shot up. You can't do this. That's my business, my livelihood. Sit down, Mr. Mercer, or I'll add contempt to your charges. He sat, but his fists clenched white. Finally, the civil matter. Quinn presented our case. We're seeking immediate restitution of $84,700, plus interest at maximum legal rate, plus punitive damages for the deliberate nature of the theft. Your Honor, Garrett tried again. Mrs. Nora Mercer was complicit in these transactions. Then she should be charged too, Judge Hernandez said flatly. But that doesn't absolve Mr. Mercer. My mother, sitting in the gallery, made a small wounded sound. Maya presented her forensic accounting. Every slide, every transfer, every forged document displayed on the courtroom screen. The judge took notes, occasionally asking for clarification. The thoroughness was beautiful. Dale had no escape route. Mr. Mercer, Judge Hernandez finally addressed him directly. Do you have any explanation for these forged signatures? Dale looked at his lawyer, who shook his head slightly. I plead the fifth. Very well. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting immediate partial restitution. Mr. Mercer, the hydraulic lift and diagnostic equipment purchased with stolen funds will be seized and liquidated. The proceeds will go directly to Ms. Caldwell. The expanded fraud investigation will determine further restitution. You're destroying me, Dale exploded, over some spoiled brat who, Mr. Mercer. The judge's gavel cracked. One more outburst and you'll be held in contempt. You stole from your stepdaughter. You assaulted her. You bragged about it. These are the consequences. She turned to me. Ms. Caldwell, the court recognizes the violation of trust you've experienced. Full restitution will be pursued through all available legal channels. Your Honor. Angela Foster stood again. Given Mr. Mercer's violent behavior and violations of the protective order, the state requests he be held pending trial. Bail is set at $50,000. Mr. Mercer will surrender his passport and wear an ankle monitor. Dale's face went from red to white. $50,000 I don't have. He stopped, realizing his assets were frozen. Perhaps someone in your supportive family can help, Judge Hernandez said dryly, looking at my mother. Mom stood shakily. I don't have that kind of money. Tyler, who'd been silent in the back row, also shook his head. Then Mr. Mercer will remain in custody. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down with finality. Deputies approached Dale with handcuffs. Real ones this time, not the quick catch and release from the assault. "Ava!" he shouted as they cuffed him. "You've destroyed everything, my business, my family." "No," I said, standing to face him. "You did that yourself. Every signature you forged, every dollar you stole, every lie you told, I just made sure everyone saw it." They led him out through the prisoner exit, his work boots dragging across the polished floor. Mom approached me, mascara streaming. "Ava, please. He's not perfect, but he's all I have." "You had me," I said quietly. "You chose him." Quinn gathered our papers, a satisfied smile playing at her lips. "Civil trial in 3 weeks. Criminal trial in 2 months. We'll get every penny back, plus damages." As we walked out into the morning sun, Maya tallied on her phone. "The equipment seizure should yield about $40,000 immediately. The rest will come from garnished wages and the civil judgment." Standing on the courthouse steps, I watched Dale's transport van pull away toward county lockup. Inside was a man who'd thought he could steal my future and beat me into silence. Instead, he'd lost everything: his freedom, his business, his reputation, his family's respect. The bruise on my cheekbone had faded to a faint yellow shadow. By the time it fully healed, Dale would be facing years in prison. Justice had a beautiful symmetry to it. The gavel struck at 11:47 a.m. 3 weeks later. Final judgment in the civil trial. Dale wasn't present. He was serving 18 months in state prison after pleading guilty to reduced charges. His lawyer had convinced him it was better than the potential 5 years if he'd gone to full trial. The court orders full restitution of $84,700, plus 18% annual interest calculated from the date of theft, plus $30,000 in punitive damages. Judge Hernandez announced, "Total judgment $128,400. The number hung in the air like a verdict from God himself. Quinn had been brilliant. Every piece of evidence deployed with surgical precision. The recording played multiple times. The forensic accounting displayed in excruciating detail. Even Dale's former customers testified about him bragging about his investment windfall. The courtroom deputy handed me the official court order. My hands didn't shake as I signed the acknowledgement. The hydraulic lifts had already been seized and sold. $42,000 deposited directly into my account last week. Dale's truck was next, then the tools, then wage garnishment for the rest of his life if necessary. Mom sat alone in the back row. She'd filed for divorce 2 weeks ago, after learning Dale had hidden another savings account with money he'd skimmed from their joint finances. Tyler had moved in with his girlfriend, wanting nothing to do with any of us. "Ms. Caldwell," Judge Hernandez addressed me directly. "The court recognizes the violation you've endured. This judgment ensures you'll be made whole, financially at least. The emotional damage." She paused. "That's something no court can fully remedy." I stood. "Thank you, Your Honor. The money was never just about the money. It was about my father's legacy, and about stopping Dale from doing this to anyone else. According to the investigation, you were likely not his first victim, just his most documented one. Your courage in coming forward has prompted 2 other reviews of suspicious financial transactions involving Mr. Mercer." As we packed up, Mom approached one last time. "Ava, I'm sorry. I should have protected you, should have seen what he was." "You saw what you wanted to see," I replied, not unkindly but not forgiving either. "And now we both have to live with that." Outside the courthouse, Quinn shook my hand. "Full recovery plus damages. Doesn't get better than that." "What about Dale's appeal? From prison with a recorded confession. Let him try." Maya had one final document, a bank statement showing my education account restored to its original amount plus interest. $87,300. More than Dale had stolen, enough to finish my degree and start fresh. That evening, I sat in my apartment with Brianna, sharing Chinese takeout and something that felt like victory but tasted more complex. "You destroyed him," she said, not disapproving, just observing. He destroyed himself. I just made sure everyone watched it happen. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. I'm sorry. I didn't know. He made me believe things about you that weren't true. I didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, weren't worth rebuilding. The next morning, 11:15 a.m., I stood in Dale's former garage, now seized and up for auction. The hydraulic lift bays stood empty, ghostly outlines on the concrete where my father's money had been transformed into Dale's ego project. In 6 weeks, this would be someone else's shop, someone else's dream. I ran my finger along the workbench Dale had been so proud of, leaving a line in the dust. He'd thought he was building an empire with stolen coins. Instead, he'd constructed his own downfall, bolt by bolt, lie by lie. The fractured cheekbone had healed completely, no trace except in certain light, a faint line only I could see. A small scar for a large victory. Dale would serve his 18 months, come out to garnished wages, a destroyed reputation, and an ex-wife who'd taken what little remained. His name in Riverton was poison now. The man who stole from his stepdaughter, who beat a young woman, who got caught on tape bragging about it. I walked out of the garage for the last time, keys to my restored future heavy in my pocket. Behind me, Dale's dream dissolved into bankruptcy notices and auction signs. The October sun felt warm on my unmarked face as I drove toward the university registrar's office. Enrollment forms on the passenger seat. My father's gift finally returning to its intended purpose. In the rearview mirror, Dale's shop disappeared around the corner. I never looked back. Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. They're wrong. It's served with evidence, witnesses, and a judge's gavel. It's served when the person who tried to steal your future loses theirs entirely. And sometimes, just sometimes, it tastes like justice. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm curious to know where in the world you're hearing this. Drop a comment and let me know what country or state you're from so we can connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your own thoughts about justice, family betrayal, or standing up for yourself. Your experiences matter, and I'd love to hear them.